I'm glad that you could all be here today. I am Rabbi Yonatan Neril, and I founded and direct the Interfaith Center for Sustainable Development, which accesses the collective wisdom of the world's religions to promote coexistence, peace, and sustainability through education and activism. I want to tell you a story. A young girl with a bird in her hands came to a wise person. The child asked the wise person, "Is the bird in my hands alive or dead?" If the answer was alive, the child would crush the bird and show that it was dead. If the wise person said dead, the child would open her hands and show that it was actually alive. The child would show the wise person wrong. So the wise person, seeing where this child was going, said to her, "I cannot say whether the bird is dead or alive, but I can say that the fate of the bird is in your hands." Today we have in our hands, collectively speaking, not one bird and not even all birds, but all living beings on planet Earth, including 7 billion human beings. Thousands of scientists all over the world warn of rainforests shrinking, deserts expanding, storms intensifying, the planet heating. In an open letter addressed to the religious community, scientists wrote, "Problems of such magnitude and solutions demanding so broad a perspective must be recognized from the outset as having a religious as well as a scientific dimension. Mindful of our common responsibility, we scientists, many of us long engaged in combating the environmental crisis, urgently appeal to the world religious community to commit in word and deed and as boldly as required to preserve the environment of the earth." End quote. At a deeper level, why is the religious community so important in this regard? Because the environmental crisis conveys a deeper message. The widespread human degradation of the natural world indicates that our way of life is out of balance. Thus, the environmental crisis is a spiritual crisis. It is not a crisis of the birds and the bees, the trees and the toads. It is a crisis of the human being and how we live as spiritual beings in a material world. Ecological disruptions reflect the inner imbalance within billions of human beings. The change required of us to correct this is primarily of a spiritual nature. This is where religions come in to be a force for positive change in the world. People of many faiths can draw inspiration from their respective traditions to live sustainably, and these efforts can cross-pollinate each other and encourage coexistence on our shared planet and in this land. The earth can be in balance, and a more conscious, aware human society is key to making the change. And so as a preface to this panel, I want to note how the organization Religion for Peace talks about how some of the most numerous and well-organized members of civil society, religious communities, have a real leadership role to play. Not only do the religious communities have ethical and moral principles to draw from, they also possess multiple assets and networks for practical action. They are significant landholders, operate millions of schools, run media outlets, and hold billions of dollars in financial assets. Using their broad networks and influence, religious leaders and communities have the potential to mobilize millions of people and influence policymakers to address climate change. We have found an issue in which we can all come together. Our local and global environmental challenges represent an opportunity for people of faith to unite in a new way and put aside our differences. There is no better place to begin than with religious leaders here in the Holy Land, of whom we are honored and privileged to hear from today. And there is no better time to do it, 90 days before the Rio +20 United Nations Earth Summit, when most of the world's leaders, together with civil society, gather to plan how to live more sustainably.